Hello, welcome back to Penny's podcast. I have a special guest with us here today. We were following our regular tradition of talking with business owners and sharing what they know with other business owners and other people out there that might find some benefit. And I met Yahohi in my Friday networking group, and she's from Japan originally, but she now resides in New York, and she's going to tell us all about her brain to belly. Like, brain to belly, what does that mean? That sounds so interesting to me because I am interested in, health and whatnot. So this really connected with me. Yeah, how he tell us a little bit about what does brain to belly mean?
Okay, so Brain to Belly came about because well, first of all, I work with women who have to free women from their food and body obsession, basically. And how I do that is by rewiring their brain, meaning the way that they think, because I believe that your thoughts create feelings, feelings create action, and action create results, right? So think,
Mm.
feel, do, have. And so rewire the brain and change your identity, basically, because identity is where a lot of problems start with food obsession and body obsession. And many of them are yo-yo dieters, and I myself was one of those. I myself struggled with yo-yo dieting most of my life. I think my first diet was when I was 12.
No way.
Yeah.
You're already worrying about your body at 12 years old. Like, come on, right?
Yeah. And I think even these days, it's probably even younger for most kids, right? So it started there. And then, of course, I went to, got really heavy into all that and got to an eating disorder called an exercise bulimic, which was instead of throwing up, I exercised to purge what I ate. And that's where it all started. I realized that after all of these diets and whatnot, it wasn't really the food, it was the way I thought about myself and my identity. So I was telling somebody, this is my concept and this is the type of coaching I do, but I don't have a name for it.
Mhm.
And, I had all these different names, all of these. And then I was talking to my friend. She goes, yeah, it's really about rewiring the brain. And I kept on saying that. She goes, and, just changing stuff down here. And I was touching my belly. And she goes, wow, brain to belly. And we're like, yeah, that's it. That's it. And that's how brain to belly came about. But the main concept is really rewiring our thinking because our brains don't know what's true or false. So basically, whatever we feed it, our brain believes.
Mm.
So if we're always feeding it, like since childhood, many kids have been told you're not good enough, right? If we've been fed that into our brains are going to start to believe it, and that's going to become the root of our identity. What we need to do is to change that, take that out. We take it out and replace it with something that is more positive. And
Mm.
it's natural, it's law of nature that if you take something out, if you create a vacuum, something always wants to replace it, right? You always want to fill that vacuum up again. That's just nature. So if we pull something out, we don't want to have it replaced by the old negative thoughts that were in there. Recording, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, or I'm not thin enough, right? We don't want that in there. Instead of that, we want something like, I'm great the way I am, or I am magnificent. I am I am a power, I am powerful. Um, I am, I am loved. Even something like I am loved, right?
As simple as I am loved. And it seems like such a hard reach for so many of us to say,
Yeah.
I am loved because we don't love ourselves. And
Yep.
that's a learned behavior from our parents, from our environment. And we can unlearn that if we have a little help. I think we need a
Yes.
little coaching on that.
Yeah. So that's where I start a lot of my coaching is we focus a lot on self-love with Brain to Belly. We start out with one of the most difficult exercises, and this is I had a hard time starting with this one as well, and it's called the mirror exercise, and I think if
Mm.
Louise Hayes talked about
Yes,
it, a lot of people have
yes.
talked about it, and I remember my mentor telling me, "Just try it," and I'm like, "That's so stupid," I was like, "I can't do that, that's, like" I was that's ridiculous, right? How can I look myself in the mirror, say my name, and say, "I love you?" And I'm like, "I can't do that." He's like, "Just try it, just give it a week. Just try it, once a day for a week and see if you can do it." And I was
Mhm.
like, I tried to do it and I'm like, this is so stupid. I can't do it, right? But then I went back. I tried to do it because I wanted to honor my mentor as well. And I figured out that the way to do it for me was I have a dog and I love my dog. I have a fur baby and I'm a fur baby parent. And, I love her dearly. So I said, well, I could tell her I love you all the time. Or like my sister or my family, I could say I love you to them. So I pretended I was saying it to my dog at first. And then I would say,
Whatever
Yayoi,
works.
yeah, Yayoi, Yayoi. I said, I love you. And I was saying it like I would say to my dog. And then eventually it became something I could say. And even if it was that replacement, my brain started believing it because I kept on saying, Yayoi, I love you. And it was so difficult at first, but once you start saying it, it becomes a little easier and a little easier. And then your brain really starts to believe that. And once it starts believing it, it's going to stay in there. So it's really about that learning process. And, you have to keep on doing it, of course, because repetition is, the mother of all skill, right?
Of course.
Repetition is what creates habits. And you want to create a good habit with that and you want to reinforce it. So, first thing I do when I look in the mirror in the morning, I go to the bathroom, I look in the mirror, I brush my teeth. I'm like, yeah, yo, yeah, I love you. And I know it's silly, but it's like a morning ritual now that I do it. And of course, then I take a moment to really actually say it to myself. But even, unconsciously kind of saying it helps a little bit with the brain understanding what it is.
No,
And
I love that
yeah,
one. I heard I heard Louise Hayes talk about that years and years ago as a kid even, she's been
yeah,
around so long, and, recently I heard her talk about, like, "Oh, yeah, the mirror exercise." Something that's so simple, but well, all these things come to my mind. That's vain, and, yeah, I'm going to become really, arrogant and rude if I, like, love myself, right? But that isn't what we're talking about here. We're just loving us as, one of God's children. You can look
yes,
at it as a religious thing if that's works for you, right? But just even having respect for yourself,
exactly.
having kindness for yourself and patience. Of course, we always wanna be better,
Yes,
definitely.
definitely.
We're growing, we're always evolving. It's not saying that I'm perfect the way I am, but, I have to kinda love myself so we can move forward to become even more of who like, fulfill that greatness is what I'm
Yes,
hearing and
yes,
knowing.
definitely. Because a lot of us that I know that from even for myself, I didn't love myself enough. I always put everyone ahead of me. I was really a people pleaser. Also, being a woman in society, we're taught that we have to cater to everyone else, right? We come
Yeah,
last.
yeah.
And it's that whole oxygen mask story, like, when you're on the airplane, they say, when the oxygen mask drops, put it on yourself first and then help someone else. Because if we're not conscious, if we're not getting enough oxygen, we can't help anyone else, right?
Exactly, exactly. It's so simple, but to apply that in our real life, we're so busy giving to everybody else,
Exactly.
and then we become depleted. But wait a second, then we can't give anymore, and we
Ex-
don't want that.
Exactly, exactly. It's that whole analogy of the cup, you can't give from a full cup, right?
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And I think it's really remembering to keep that part of ourselves. And it's honoring yourself by doing that. When you start loving yourself and even keep like 5, 10 minutes to yourself, just strictly to yourself, even if it's 5, 10 minutes, if you have to go into the bathroom and just give yourself 5 minutes, right?
Yeah,
It's that
exactly.
5 minutes that you're honoring yourself and loving yourself.
Mhm.
And I think it really starts there. And With Brain to Belly, we also work on the mind and heart coherence. We try to balance these two out because when these two are aligned, it's when a lot of things start clicking. And when this aligns and when we start loving ourselves, we don't want to feed our body these horrible things that we've been putting into our bodies previously. Like, yes, sometimes I do eat junk food, believe me. You know, I remember when Flaming Hot Cheetos came out, I was so curious of what they were like, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I
and then
ate that.
you can't put the bag down, right? Like, it's so salty and cheesy, and
That
then you feel sick
spice.
afterwards,
Yeah.
but you can't seem to put it down. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think I ate it like twice, but the second time around, I learned my lesson and I used chopsticks to eat it because I didn't want to get my fingers all orangey.
Smart lady.
I was like, no, I don't want people knowing that I ate it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Alright. So,
yeah,
it sounds like, you're reaching out mostly to women. I can imagine this is also for men too. It's
yes,
never one-sided, of course, but, there is a tendency for women to be big givers, and,
yes.
that's probably who you might connect with the most. And, what's one tip? Well, maybe that's your tip to do the mirror work? Is that your tip for us? Is that the
I think
assignment?
that, yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the most difficult, but I'd say try it. Even if you go in front of a mirror, just try to pretend you're saying it to someone that you would normally say I love you to. And for me, it was my dog. That was the easiest thing to do. So, find something that's easiest for you to do and start saying it. And because your brain will hear it. And it's better to feed your brain something good than, putting something negative in your brain.
Exactly. And it's back to that if we're not worthy, if we don't feel worthy, then the universe or
Yes.
doesn't bring to us stuff because like it's like you're reflecting it, reflecting it away like you have this
Yeah.
bad shield on. But we want to if we feel good about ourselves, then we attract the good. I
Right.
believe. I
It's the
see that all
energy
the
levels,
time.
right? Yeah, if you have the good energy, you're gonna attract good energy. There's a saying that connects with like or like, I don't know, attracts like, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
attract the like that you want to attract, not the negative stuff.
Yeah. So fantastic. Belly to brain. So how can people connect with you?
Yes, the easiest way is you can go to my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group called Brain to Belly. You could connect there, or you can go to braintobellycoaching.com, and that's
Okay.
my website, so you can connect with me there.
Thank you for dropping by and visiting with us today, brain to belly, and doing the mirror work. I'm so grateful that you reminded me of that because I needed that. I needed that reminder. Like get in there and do it, and not be afraid and don't feel scared about being I don't know
Yeah,
that it's
because,
vain or something.
yeah, because there's nobody else but you, right, in front of the mirror. I mean, it's not like you're in a public bathroom in front of the mirror saying, I love you. It's your own mirror at home, and do as much as you can. If you can't say it the first time, then next time you're in front of the mirror, maybe say, maybe I could do it this time.
I love that. Well, I love you and loved having you here today.
Thank you.
We'll
Likewise.
see you again next time. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye.